10 things that I noticed in Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Now, two things that aren't going to be on the list is one, every time an ape is wearing a dodgy looking mask, and two, every time Nova is wearing shoes. Number one, the date. Brent tells Skipper that the date is 3955. Now, we don't know when Brent left. Taylor left in 72, so assuming that Brent left in either 72 or 73 at the earliest means that his flight was 1983, or maybe 82 years into the future at the earliest. If you remember the date from the first movie of when they said that they were at, means that it's a little bit earlier than what it should be. Number two, Taylor's dog tags. Now, no video about Beneath the Planet of the Apes is going to go without mentioning Taylor's dog tags, which he has in this film, but did not have in the previous film. So, okay, here goes. Taylor gives Nova the dog tags. Taylor disappears. Taylor, before he disappears, told Nova to go to Zero. Nova comes across Brent. Brent sees the dog tags, say Taylor on them. So he says, well, take me to Taylor. Nova doesn't know where Taylor is, so Nova takes Brent to Zero. When they're at Zero and Cornelius' house, Zero breaks Nova the dog tags. Nova still has them when they leave. They go to the horse that's in the shrub. They're going to escape Ape City. The horse gets shot out from under him. As Nova's running, you can see that her right hand is often clenched. It's not all the time clenched, but most of the time it is, which I think is supposed to indicate that it's in her right hand. So they get captured. They spend the night in an outside cage. And then later on, they get relocated and they are in an inside cage. And that's where they come across Zera. And Zera says, ooh, a type E cranium. How rare. And Ursus says, well, take them to the shooting range. You can see that the dog tags are now wrapped around Nova's right hand. Later on, when they're escaping and they take the two horses where they don't have any bridles right before they get to the cave. When they're climbing around the mountains, you can see that it's still loosely wrapped around her hand and that it's dangling. And you can see that she's holding it loosely when they enter the cave and go into the underground where the mutants are. And she keeps them with her. Before she falls asleep, she must tie them around her neck, or maybe Brent does, because when she's sleeping, you see that she's now wearing it as a necklace, and you see that it remains. She's wearing it back again as a necklace until until her demise. Number three, Ursus and Zaius. So Nova and Brent have been captured. They're brought into an inside facility. Zera's there. She sees them and she says, ooh, type E cranium. Ursus comes along and says, no, we need them for the shooting range. And it seems like he comes out of nowhere, but he doesn't. If you pay attention in the background, Ursus and Zaius are in another room talking. And then in the top right-hand corner, you can just barely see that Zaius walks off and Ursus now comes into the main room where Zera, Nova, and Brent are. Number four, protesters. When Ursus and Zaius are leading the ape army out into the Forbidden Zone, when they get on the border of town, there's a bunch of protesters that try to stop them. Those protesters actually are seen earlier in the movie. When Brent and Nova are watching Ursus give his warmongering speech, you can see that they're in the background behind the little archway pillar, and they're marching around over there. Number five, scrolls. In the Ape Society, they don't have books. Instead, they have scrolls. In Zera and Cornelius' house, Cornelius sits and relaxes in his chair. Next to him would be what would be a bookcase, but since they don't have books, it's full of scrolls. Short ones are kept in the what would be a bookcase. Next to it are longer ones, which turn out to be maps, because later on he's showing Brent a map, and it's obviously one of the longer ones that were on the side. It's very hard to see, but it's on the very extreme left of the scene. Number six, the Mutant Society. The Mutant Society uses some sort of a color system. Each leader has a sash, and it's all different colors. There's yellow, green, blue, red, and purple. Each leader has a special seat that has a cushion in the main cathedral that corresponds to the color of their sash. The only colors that we can figure out what jobs there are is purple is obviously the leader. Yellow is some sort of security personnel. Every person who acts in a guard position has a yellow undershirt. And in fact, they give Taylor a shirt that's got a yellow stripe on it, because that would be the clothes that security would have available. And then when they're questioning Brent and when the interrogation gets really serious, it's the guy with the yellow sash that starts doing the heavy interrogating. Number seven, the disappearing sash. When Brent and Nova are brought into the main council room of where the leaders of the Mutant Society are, the woman has a blue sash. In the credits, she's listed as Albania. There's a part where the leaders are watching what the ape army is doing, and no indication of it being any great length of time. When it cuts back, all of a sudden, her sash is now gone. and she doesn't have it for the rest of the movie. Number 8, the mask is off. The very first person that Brent comes across in the Mutant Society is a guy who's praying to the bomb. And he says, I reveal my innermost self unto my Lord. And he's got a piece of cloth in his hand. And then when it shows him, he's standing there and he's got his face and he's got the cloth cap. That cap is part of the mask because later on, when you see the ceremony, they're holding the masks, but behind it is a cloth cap. The mask only covers the face, doesn't have a back piece to it. Number 9, horsemanship. Just before you see the ape army go out into the Forbidden Zone, you see that they're training on how to attack humans on horses. And one of the things that I've always wondered is why. The only human that they've ever seen riding a horse is Taylor. So do they think that there's a bunch of humans out in the Forbidden Zone riding horses? And the other thing that I noticed is that Taylor must have at some point kind of taught Nova how to ride a horse, because she can direct the horse and steer it. I guess that's what you call it. Because she can go from Brent and takes the horse directly to Zira, and then later on, when they're running away from the apes, she's riding the horse and she doesn't have any equipment on. But yet, at the same time, for some reason, she never puts her feet in the stirrups. Number 10, the Mutants and the Bomb. One of the things that it shows is that there's the bomb, and then there's a control panel in front of the bomb that has a bunch of clear crystals, but 3 of them are colored. There's a green, a yellow, and a red. The green raises the bomb up, the yellow one arms it, and the red detonates it. And it's pretty much shown that every time that they pray to it, it's ready, it's armed, and it's ready to go, which I always thought was kind of indication of how they feel their god. They fear it, but yet at the same time, they're ready to activate it and blow it up, which probably goes a long way to explain why when the ape army comes, they just decided, instead of like really defending themselves, they're just going to blow the whole place apart.